Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. 10 movies. Six? I think? I don't know. Why am I holding the camera this close to my face? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired of the 6 feet apart thing. 6 feet apart! I miss standing up close to people like this. Right in their face. Especially the ones that sprayed instead of sang it, sort of like I did, fogging up the camera there. Hi. Slowly but surely. Yeah. Well, that's a lesson. Don't breathe on the damn camera lens, I guess, for future reference. Of course, I'll forget it in a heartbeat. So this is 10 movies, whatever number it is. I don't care anymore. We'll find out. We'll find out eventually. Alright, so first movie I'll talk about here. Literally just watched this movie. It's called The Castle from 1999. About this family fighting this property thing. They're trying to take their house because it's on the land. It's nearby this airport. So they're trying to expand this airport by removing all the houses that are nearby. And basically, I don't know. It's an Australian comedy, and I really liked it. What can I say? I really enjoyed this film. I hadn't heard of it before. It was one of those sort of just random searches, and I'm like, oh, what's this movie? It's got high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, 87% for critics, 92% audience rating. Obviously, the audience rating enticed me more than the critics because I don't really trust the critics that much, especially here on Rotten Tomatoes, and we'll get to an example of that in a moment. But yeah, I don't, as usual, I feel like I say this a lot on this series of 10 films or whatever, but I don't got a lot to say about this one. I mean, and I just watched it. All I can say is, without a doubt, I really enjoyed it. I really like the family here. I like the actors as well. Apparently, this was shot and filmed in 14 days, which is impressive. But I could totally see why, because like the camera work is nothing to write home about. It's not exactly your pretty looking film. But then again, I think in that same regard, some of the best comedies sort of look like on the cheaper end. Like it's very rare that you see a comedy, if ever, that has a high budget and is extraordinarily funny along the same framework. So this was clearly made on a low budget, and you know, it utilizes that well. It's got a lot of charm to it. The main takeaway here is the cast. The cast and the characters and the writing here are the three takeaways that are just absolutely impressive. Like I don't think this is a perfect movie per se. You know, and I don't necessarily have many problems with it, if any. I mean, I can't point out one except for the fact that the cinematography is a bit shoddy. Maybe the narration gets a bit too repetitive at certain points, because a lot of the joke about the narration is the narrator will say something and then the character in the scene will say another thing. And a part of me kind of wishes that this was, because I was under the impression that this was going to be a mockumentary, sort of like in the style of This is Spinal Tap, or what's the movie? What's the other movie I just watched? Best in Show with Eugene Levy and all those great actors. I thought it was going to be more akin to that, where it's like a documentary crew following this family around, but it really wasn't that. It's just the way it's shot initially sort of gave me that impression that this was like a documentary crew following around this family, and they're going for this documentary fly on the wall style of filmmaking. But it's really just a straightforward story. and there's this narration on top of it that sort of gives you that mockumentary sort of narration, but it's not done in the style of something else like The Office, for instance, as well, like where you clearly got the camera crew filming the show itself, meanwhile they know they're being filmed. So it's not like that, unfortunately, in my opinion. Like I think the film could have benefited from that sort of I don't know, that sort of angle or whatever, gimmick, if you will, I guess, to a certain extent, or genre more so. But either way, I was extraordinarily happy, mixing up my words there, extraordinarily happy. Maybe I should cut it out with the extended words. I should just stick with words that are under 5 characters from now on, though that might be difficult. Alright, moving on now. Let's exit this out before I repeat myself again. So this next movie here that I'll talk about, if my computer ever bloody well loads here, this next movie I'm going to talk about is, I don't know, maybe of the movies I've seen on here, on this list, it might be my favorite, though I'll have to wait for it because it's just, oh, this computer sucks so hard, I tell you. Or actually, no, there are 2 other films on here that I really love that I can't wait to talk about, so, yeah, so let's get to this one first. This one is called The Survivors from 1983. 1983, yeah, 1983. This has got Robin Williams, Walter Matthau, Jerry Reed's in this. Yeah, so this is a comedy, a very dark comedy at that. I'm surprised at how dark this film got at certain points, especially with the Robin Williams character. When this movie started off, I kept thinking of Falling Down with Michael Douglas, which, in my opinion, like, you know, anybody that's seen Falling Down, if you haven't seen The Survivors with Robin Williams, I highly recommend, especially if you liked Falling Down, I'd highly recommend The Survivors to you. It's one of Robin Williams' finest performances, and I was alluding to the fact that Rotten Tomatoes, I normally don't trust the critics' rating, though in this case I also don't trust the audience rating. This Robin Williams, Walter Matthau film has an abysmal 9% from critics, from 11 critics, even Roger Ebert, which I was shocked he didn't like this film, and 42% with over 4,000 audience ratings. That is complete and utter lunacy, in my opinion. This film is much better than these abysmal scores. Much better than these abysmal scores. It's like a Jimmy Hollywood all over again. Jimmy Hollywood was a great film. This is a great film. It's not perfect, no, but this is a damn fine entertainment, and maybe now it connects more with me than it did with audiences like almost 40 years ago. This film came out 1983. So yeah, like 37 at this point, I guess it came out, because I was born in 93 and I'm 27, so 37 years old this film is. Yeah, like really great performances at the heart of it. The 3 standouts here are, of course, the 3 actors I listed at the top there: Walter Matthau, Robin Williams. But the standout here is an actor that, outside of The Waterboy, I haven't seen this actor in anything before. His name is Jerry Reed. I guess he's a guitarist. I looked up his Wikipedia page really quick. Apparently he's done work with Elvis Presley, and there's somebody else, maybe B.B. King or somebody like that, but somebody, a big note, somebody of big popularity in the music industry. Jerry Reed was the most impressive one here. He has this look about him, and I guess he's also in The Waterboy. I forget who the hell he was in The Waterboy, but I remember liking that movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, though, so I may hate it if I watch it again. I have no idea. Jerry Reed, though, in this film, he plays this at first he's a robber, and then you realize later in the film he's a notorious hitman. And basically it's implied throughout the course of the film that he was the guy who killed Jimmy Hoffa. So as soon as that came up, I was thinking, oh my god, this is reminding me of The Irishman now, and stuff like that, or any Hitman movie. But I was genuinely impressed by Jerry Reed's performance here. He has this charisma about him. He has this look. You buy him as a hitman, but also he's likable. Like he has this scene with his wife that is so funny yet so well acted, so dramatic, so tense at the same time. It's funny because of what happens after the scene and the wife's reaction to what he says, but it's such a perfect scene. I love scenes like this. I love when comedies can take this material seriously. Another instance of that is Goon. There's this awesome scene between Seann William Scott and Liev Schreiber, I believe that's his name, in the movie called Goon. And that movie is like very funny throughout the course of it, very loud, very vulgar. But this diner scene in Goon is like very restrained, very well acted, and it sort of just reminds you like, wow, okay, this has some weight to it, this has some consequence to it, this has some character and backbone rather than just we're telling cheap jokes just to try to get a laugh out of an audience for a whole hour and a half. This film is surprisingly quite dark at certain points, especially like I mentioned with the Robin Williams character. He becomes obsessed after this robbery with guns. So and there's this really intense scene that had me nervous throughout, just as because Walter Matthau, he has a daughter character in this film, and it's after this home invasion scene involving these three characters, as well as Jerry Reed's the guy who invades the home of Walter Matthau, and his daughter and Robin Williams come into the scene later on. But it's this really intense scene with Robin Williams. Just, he's so nervous, and it perfectly embodies the post-traumatic stress of being in this type of situation, this highly intense situation, and how it can basically turn you into someone you're not. Like before this, Robin Williams character is basically just this sad sack who like is a bit of a wuss. Like, he was just fired by a parrot. At the start of the movie, he's fired by a damn parrot at his job. So, you know, he's not exactly in the best frame of mind, having just lost his job to a bloody parrot and having a gun as well pointed at him by a woman, a secretary that he knew for, I think he says 8 or 9 years. And she just like points a gun at him and says he's spineless or whatever. You really feel for the Robin Williams character in this, and I won't lie, by the end of the film I was completely sold on it. I completely fell in love with this film. There's this beautiful last scene between Matthau and Williams that had me tearing up because mainly because Walter Matthau, I mean, it's such a, they have such great chemistry, and in every damn review that I saw from a critic on here, it said that Matthau and Williams do not play well off of each other, and I highly disagree with that. I think they're completely out to lunch in the way they think about this. Maybe their reaction, maybe the critics' reaction to this was based off the fact that this is marketed as a comedy, whereas I kind of see it more as a drama with comedic scenes in it. Like, it starts off and you kind of think like, okay, this kind of is more so a comedy than a drama. But as it goes along, especially with the Robin Williams character, and and he's still funny throughout the course of the film. He has a line at the end about like sticking a cigarette in a tree. It's like, who sticks a cigarette in a tree? What kind of animal sticks a cigarette in a tree, or something like that. But I don't know. I just love this film, and I totally think critics are absolutely wrong in regards to it. And wow, it shocks me that films like this get such low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, I'd probably wager that this film has lower ratings, both audience and critic score, than that god-awful Ghostbusters reboot does. Like that probably has like 50 or 60% audience ratings on bloody Rotten Tomatoes, for all I know. Whereas a great movie like this, an underappreciated, undervalued movie like this, gets bloody 9 and a 40-something from audiences. Give me a break, guys. Come on. You know better than that. Anyhow, give The Survivors a watch. Highly recommend this movie. I think it's so underrated here, and yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Alright, next film I'll talk about here. Let's exit out that one, because I opened that one up twice. So, next one here. I watched this one quite a while ago, so forgive me if my memory's a bit foggy on this one. But it's with Michael J. Fox, and it's called Doc Hollywood. It's from 1991. I think I was going to talk about this in one of my previous ones, but I had watched so many movies during that time frame that this kind of got lost in the shuffle, and I sort of just like said, oh, whatever, I'll talk about it again at some other time. So the good thing about this film is that literally when I watched it, I wasn't expecting much at all. I just thought, okay, I'm going to like this. I'm probably not going to love it. Probably going to like it because it's got my boy Michael J. Fox in it. I usually love every movie he's in from, he was great in The Hard Way with James Woods. Of course, Back to the Future is a classic. I want to see this other movie he's in that I haven't seen before. It's called Bright Lights, Big City, so I'll probably be watching that sometime soon. God knows when, because I have so many movies to watch. I have like a watch list that has like dozens upon dozens of movies still. So it's just like endless amounts of movies. And it always shocks me whenever people say, oh, I have nothing to watch. It's like, you have nothing to watch? Give me a break. Give me a break. There's so many movies out there you can be enjoying right now. So Doc Hollywood, what can I say? Let me scroll down. Let me wobble this camera around a little bit while I'm doing it too. So let me scroll down here. Okay, it has middle of the road reviews here on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh yeah, and Woody Harrelson's in this as well. I kind of forgot until I looked at the poster there. So this has middle of the road reviews, 68% critics, literally 50% audience score. And I'm way more favorable on this, obviously. Like I think I already mentioned the fact that I really enjoyed this movie. I really quite enjoyed this movie a lot. Funny enough, I thought this movie was R-rated because it has this scene of nudity involving this Julie Warner character. She's like walking out of this like river or whatever, and she's completely naked. So that had me thinking, okay, this has got to be an R-rated movie, right? But no, it's PG-13. So like they could get away with a lot with a PG-13 back in the 90s. I remember watching I think it was European Vacation, National Lampoon movie, and they have a scene in that where there's just a lineup of naked women, just fully naked women. And I watched this as a kid, and I'm like, whoa, what? What's going on? And I look at the info on the TV, it says it's rated PG. I'm like, okay, it's rated PG, all right. I'm getting all red in the face here thinking about it. Me as a kid seeing a bunch of beautiful naked women on TV. Meanwhile, my mom's making pancakes in the kitchen, probably, for all I know, back in the good old days of being a kiddo. So back on topic here. reminiscent about the good old days of being a child. So Doc Hollywood, I really enjoyed this film a lot. It was way better than I thought it'd be based off of the poster. This was always one of those films that I sort of just judged. I sort of just like waved my hand at it when I look at the poster. I'm just like, this is one of those movies where Michael J. Fox is going to be the best thing about it, and that's it. The movie's just going to be generic. His character's probably going to suck. I'm probably going to hate the guy. And initially, you do not like his character. Like, he is kind of an asshole. And, you know, like, but you grow to like him. You grow to like him just like these people in this small town. Basically, his car breaks down, and he runs into this white picket fence on his way to this big Hollywood job. That's why it's got the title Doc Hollywood. He's going to Hollywood to be this top profile doctor. So he ends up in this small town, and they essentially force him to stay there to, I think, to fix a fence, or no, they basically make him stay there for a week or maybe two to pay off for the repairs of the fence. And so basically they have this like a little hospital, little clinic where he's scheduled to take care of patients for a week in order to, you know, serve basically community service or whatever. Man, I'm repeating myself so much. Serve community service, whatever. I'm the worst at trying to break down plots. I need to write a script for myself, basically, because I make myself look like the biggest moron in the world. Anybody can review movies, but God, sometimes I'm just, I'm the worst. But this movie is not the worst, for sure. Surprisingly, I really like the love story at the heart of this, because this film, to my surprise, I didn't look at the genre of it, but it's listed as a romance film, and it certainly is. That's what shocked me the most. I was expecting like just your run-of-the-mill generic comedy, but it ended up being more, and I like the romance between Michael J. Fox and Julie Warner in this. It starts off kind of like on a weird note, because like literally the first time you see her in this film, she's just completely naked, not only in a dream scene, but literally in the very next scene. Like, it's basically a redux of that dream scene that Michael J. Fox is having about like his supposed dream girl or whatever. So it starts off kind of rocky, but you know, as they converse with one another, you realize like, okay, this script has got some meat to it. You know, like there's some genuine care that went into making these characters likable, relatable, realistic, which I appreciate. This film very much reminded me of Local Hero, and I feel like I mentioned that movie in like almost every video that I make now. Local Hero, if I haven't said it before, I'll say it again. Local Hero is one of my favorite films of all time. So if you're going to make a movie and I can compare it with that movie, you're on good footing, in my opinion. The other film that I mentioned that for was Withnail and I, but that took that similar sort of plotting that Local Hero had and just like brought it to a flat line. Withnail and I is quite a bit overrated, in my opinion. But I really love Doc Hollywood. I'd highly recommend it to people looking just for a charming romantic movie, especially with a likable actor like Michael J. Fox at the heart of it. And I think you'd really enjoy this if you're looking for a good romantic movie. Go check it out, because it's quite funny as well. Like I remember quite a few big laughs in the movie as well, which was really nice, because usually a movie like this, it's like you'll get one laugh and that's about it, and then it's done deal. It's like move along. But not with this film. It's quite clever and quite a nice movie, in my opinion. Next film, speaking of clever, We got The Freshman, 1990. This Matthew, I was about to say Michael J. Fox again. This is a Matthew Broderick, Marlon Brando movie. Yeah, so I saw this. This was probably the one that I watched the furthest to go, but it's the one that I've thought about since, and it keeps getting better and better and better in my mind. I really enjoyed this film a lot. Marlon Brando is basically playing the same character that he did in The Godfather. And, yeah, he's, God, what can I say? He steals the show here. Like, he's playing this, what is his name? Jimmy the Toucan, I guess? Carmine Sabatini or whatever, and, I like the whole cast here, quite frankly, from Marlon Brando to Matthew Broderick to Bruno Kirby as Victor to Frank Whaley, Penelope Ann Miller. Now, the one thing I will say about this is that it's kind of the opposite of Doc Hollywood, where that film was more of a romance. This movie is more of a comedy, and the thing that I dislike the most about this film is the forced romance between Matthew Broderick and the Penelope Ann Miller character. There's a cool twist with it at the end that I appreciated, because it kind of made me look back on it in hindsight and go, okay, well, at least there's a clever sort of twist to it, rather than just how it's presented at the start. Like, basically, she just comes on to Matthew Broderick right away. She's trying to seduce him. She's trying to get him in bed right from the get-go. And I'm like, okay, already I don't like this female character, because, like, she's... I don't know. There's just... it's so weird. Like, it feels like she's trying to set him up to get whacked. You know what I mean? Like it's and it doesn't feel like this is a romantic lead. It feels like the way her character's portrayed, mainly like in her introductory scene, it feels like she would just be like one of those characters from some terrible rom-com that the protagonist hooks up with almost immediately at the start of the movie, and then he realizes, oh wait, there's another better chick out there for me other than this one that I just laid like that, got laid with like that, and then move along. So it's like a terrible romance. If you're watching this movie for the romance, then good for you, I guess. Wow. But yeah, so this movie, and surprisingly, it's rated PG. And thinking about it, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. In my opinion, this works on the same level that My Blue Heaven did with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. That movie was rated PG or PG-13 as well. It's on that same level where it's like they could have went further with it in regards to making this an R-rated movie, but it's nice watching a comedy like this that's rated PG-13 once in a while, because even The Castle, which I was talking about in the first as the first movie up top of this video here, even that I was surprised that film was rated R, like that, because the first half hour or so there's next to no profanity. There's like shit, and like at one point they're like Jesus Christ over and over again, and I kept thinking, okay, that's about as profane as it's going to get. But no, as that movie went along, there's this one scene with the lawyer where it's just like, I counted, just for curiosity's sake, I counted 5 times they say the word fuck in this one scene within, and it's just like a minute long scene, and they say the F word 5 times, and then after that they say it like probably about 20 more times or so. And it's just like, wow, like you were on a roll with making this a PG rated movie, but like in a snap it turns to an R rated farce like that, and it's just wow. So the Freshman, again, I'm repeating myself, I don't got much to say about it, but this was a sharp comedy. I really like the characters here, everyone except for the Penelope Ann Miller character, because like I really didn't like how upfront she was with the Matthew Broderick character. In a sense, it kind of makes him a bit unlikable as well, because like there's no chemistry with them at all. Like there's none, zip. And yeah, I don't know what else to say beyond that. I really loved Marlon Brando in this film, though. He stole the show, obviously. Every time he's on screen, it's just like, wow, like perfect, perfect. And I love the fact that he's essentially replicating his performance from that first Godfather movie. I thought he was brilliant in this, and it gave us a sample of what he would have been like in The Godfather Part 2 had he made it to the end of The Godfather. Obviously, obviously he dies in the first Godfather. Spoiler for that movie. It's been out for decades. Spoiler for it. It's one of the most popular movies out there. The highest rated IMDb movie, if I recall. So yeah, sorry about spoiling one of the most popular, if not the most popular, gangster film of all time if you haven't seen it. But yeah, that's all I got to say about The Freshman from 1990? Yeah, 1990. I really liked it, but it could have been better. It could have had a better love story at the heart of it, because that's kind of awkward. But Penelope Ann Miller, she's attractive. I'll give her that in this film, but moving on to something much better now. So this is called Married to the Mob. This is from 1988. This is, oh god, the audience rating for this. Okay, so it's got a perfect, like awesome rating at the top. It's got an 89% from critics. Yes, absolutely. Agree with that. Actually, I would give this film my highest score. I would give this a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, A+, gold star. My highest recommendation would go to this film. I really, really, really love this film. With Michelle Pfeiffer, Matthew Modine, Dean Stockwell. Great cast here. But the audience score, man. I don't know what the hell people are thinking with this audience score. It's got 48%. 48%. I don't know what... Usually I agree with audiences, and maybe that's why it took me a while to see this film, because I was looking at it going, oh no, this is going to be like The Last Jedi, ain't it? Where like critics love it, but I hate it. And meanwhile, it's like, no, I agree with critics on this one wholeheartedly. I think this is an amazing movie. Terrific movie. With a perfect cast. Even Alec Baldwin is in this for a short period of time. I love everyone in this cast. They even got Oliver Platt in here as well, Joan Cusack. Just a terrific cast. And the director here, Jonathan Demme, I gotta look him up, because if he's the guy I'm thinking, then he's got some terrific movies under his belt. And if there's one movie that I haven't seen of his, then I've got to see it right away. So just going off of my memory, Jonathan Demme made a great movie with Jeff Daniels called, and Ray Liotta's in it as well. I forget the actress in the, but it's called Something Wild. And that movie blew me away. That movie's like this. I would give that film my highest recommendation as well. Perfect score for that film too. But the best movie that Jonathan Demme did, and I'm waiting for it to load so I don't screw this up, because it's one film in my mind that got heavily awarded, and for good reason. It's one of the rare Oscar-winning movies that deserves, and screw it, I'm going to say it now. It's The Silence of the Lambs, or Silence of the Lambs, whatever it's called. But this guy knows how to direct the hell out of every movie he does, at least every movie that I've seen from him. And I can't wait for this damn computer to load so I can know for sure if I've seen anything else that this guy has done. I genuinely loved Married to the Mob, though. I can't believe the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie. That is criminal, in my opinion. That is outright criminal, in my opinion. I'm sorry to anybody if you watch it, if you don't like Married to the Mob. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. You're wrong, and I'm right. I'm always right. But yeah, like I really love Jonathan Demme, his directing here. So let's see if I am right. Okay, yes, thank God. He did direct Silence of the Lambs. Okay, phew. I totally thought I was going to be wrong about that. Um, uh, yeah, yeah. So I've got to watch a bunch of his movies because he's made so many movies that I haven't seen. That I looking at his list of films here. He's got a lot of films here that have like high critic scores and extremely, extraordinarily low audience scores. Like I'm looking at most of his movies. The first one that I'm looking at from the bottom here, 73 critics, 40% audience. That's for a movie called Caged Heat. Crazy Mama, that's a similar thing, 88% critics, 34% audiences. I don't know why audiences hate Jonathan Demme's movies so much, but it's like, it's so many of them. Swing Shift, that's got an 87%, 41% audience. Just crazy, man. Like how many of this guy's movies just get, well, as it goes up here, thankfully it's looking a little bit better. Yeah, so Jonathan Demme is one of my favorite directors, just based off of those three movies I've mentioned: Married to the Mob, Silence of the Lambs, Something Wild. This guy he knows how to direct the hell out of a movie and make even a comedy like this, because it's obviously mainly a comedy about the mob. But by the end, it's surprisingly intense, especially with this character named Connie. She sort of comes into this sequence during the climax of the movie, and the way she walks in, like it almost reminded me of something Wild. The Ray Liotta character. There's a sequence near the end of that film as well involving Ray Liotta's character that is so intense that it almost turns into a horror movie. And it's frightening. It's frightening because that movie's like a comedy romance throughout the main course of it, like a road trip movie, like a bunch of stuff, drama, what have you. But by the end of that film, it almost turns into a horror movie. And like while I can't say the same about this sequence in Married to the Mob, it almost had that same impact on me where I'm like, okay, this is suddenly very intense, like extremely nerve-wracking. Like even though even though you're kind of against this Tony the Tiger Russo character, played brilliantly by Dean Stockwell in this movie. He's terrific here. Even though you're kind of against him, like he's cheating on his wife. His wife is Connie Russo, played by Mercedes Ruel, I believe her name is. Everybody's great. Everybody's terrific in this film. But the scene involving Connie at the end is just wow. Like I was shocked at how intense it was, because it starts off on sort of a funny note, like she's knocking on the door and punch to the face to somebody. But as it goes along, it's just like, holy, like where is the scene going? Like what's going to happen? Like it's the tension is so palpable. I love it. I love this movie for the fact that it took me on this roller coaster exploring like movie genres of all sorts, it seemed, whether it be gangster, action, and some of the action, like this film isn't obviously action centric, but there's this one shot of Matthew Modine, and you can clearly tell that he's jumping from this like trampoline. Maybe he's not, but I was I was sort of laughing to myself at this scene, because like it looks like he's having a gay old time, like jumping in the air, almost like doing this Mad Max sort of move, or not Mad Max, Max Payne sort of move. And it just had me sort of chuckling because like that looks like he's having a grand old time. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be this this like intense shootout, I guess, at the end of the movie. But yeah, I moving on now. I really enjoyed this film. I don't want to spend too long talking here because I know I can just ramble on incoherently and it's just nonsensical, and we're only halfway through now. So let's keep plowing through these. Next film I'll talk about here is Ghost in the Shell from 1996. I had seen this movie before, but I wanted to watch it again because obviously it's got extraordinary visuals. It's the inspiration for so many movies. I think the main reason why I wanted to watch this was because I was fresh off of watching the Matrix trilogy. So I wanted something to sort of fill in the gap of that because I love that first Matrix movie, and it's hard to find a movie like that that's of that same caliber. I'm like, obviously there are movies out there like it, but it's really hard to top something like The Matrix, at least in my opinion. I know a lot of people say it's overrated, but having seen it again and having it so fresh in my mind, I'm just reminded of how much I loved that movie when it first came out, when I first saw it on video, and how much I still love it now. And like it's amazing how revolutionary that film was, and it still is to this day. I guess the closest I can come to making a modern example of The Matrix is something like Inception, and that is actually quite similar. The more I think about it, because they're basically like in their dream world, which is the Matrix, in obviously the Matrix trilogy. Off topic here, but you know, I just wanted to make that aside. So Ghost in the Shell, what can I say? This is a pretty damn intelligent movie. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I would have preferred actually to have seen the non-dubbed version. Like I'm not sure if there's a version of, I'm pretty sure there is. Like what is this? I'm pretty sure this is a Japanese animated movie. But I would have liked to have heard that version, like with subtitles rather than the English dubbed version. I don't know why per se. Like I don't know. Like every time I watch a movie like this, I expect to hear the characters speaking in their native tongue rather than like having these awkward American accents or whatever. I don't know, but like other than that, I thought this movie was pretty damn good. I don't think it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's one of the better anime movies that I've seen. I don't think it's up there with something like what was that movie? Akira? Yeah, Akira. Like I was about to call it Canada because they have this character in Akira named Kaneda, and they keep saying it like Canada, and it's like, yeah, rock on, Canada, rock and roll, guys. So yeah, I didn't love it as much as something like Akira, but I like this movie. I mean, what more can I say? The only thing I'd say is that like in regards to this movie is that I don't know, it's just I don't really like this main character. I mean, she just seems like an excuse for the animators to draw a naked woman. Like I know some people would probably disagree with me. Some probably be like, "Screw you! How dare you have this opinion?" But I honestly didn't see, and I know she's a bloody android or robot or whatever they call her in this film. I don't care. I just wish there was more to this major character than just like I don't remember a single interesting trait about her, nor any character for that matter in this film. In all honesty, at certain points, this film kind of reminded me of that boring Johnny Depp movie called Transcendence. That movie was just so philosophical and so mind-numbing and how it's like, oh, it's so self-serious. And in a sense, it kind of reminded me of this. Obviously, this is a better, more efficient movie. Plus, it's not like 2.5 hours like that piece of crap Transcendence movie was. That movie is boring. And this is anything but boring. I don't want to be too negative on this film because for the most part I really loved it. But you know, this is one of those films that gets like damn near perfect score from everybody, if not just flat out perfect score from everybody. And I think it's quite a bit overrated in that aspect. Like I don't know, and that's just my opinion. I know people are gonna say like, oh, you're wrong, like this is the best movie ever, blah blah blah. But it's like, all right, that's just your opinion, man. Like, whatever. And who knows? Maybe if I watched the original Japanese, dubbed or non-dubbed version, whatever, I think I may have liked that version more. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. I just watched the version with the English subtitles. But yeah, I just watched Siskel and Ebert's review of it, and they watched the same version because the clips they showed on their show was the English dubbed version. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, they seem to have loved this movie. Like they talked about it in a very high fashion. Gene Siskel, I'm looking at his review here. He gave it a 3 out of 4. I reckon Roger probably gave it a bit more. I reckon he probably gave it like a 3.5 out of 4 or something like that. Or maybe he gave it the same thing. I don't know. I don't see Roger's review up here for it. And quite frankly, I'm not going to click on the Rotten Tomatoes thing because my computer just takes so bloody long to load. And plus, I don't even know if they got his review up here because they got somebody else under the name RogerEbert.com named Willow McLay that gave this movie a 5 out of 5. So who knows? Maybe Roger did give this a perfect score as well. All I know is that they both obviously really liked it, and I really liked it as well. And yeah, I'd probably agree with Siskel on this. Like I'd agree with a rating like 3 out of 4 because I don't think it's perfect. Mainly the thing that intrigued me the most about this was the animation style. I was really compelled by that. And other than that, what can I say? Damn good movie. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. You'll probably really enjoy it just as much as I did, if not more. Hopefully more. Or you'll hate it and you'll be cussing my name up and down the street for decades. Next movie. All right, this is by a wide margin my favorite movie of these 10. And quite honestly, possibly my favorite movie that I've talked about on these like 10 movie videos, whatever the hell I call them. This film is from 1986. It's called Ruthless People, and I absolutely wholeheartedly love this movie. I am shocked that I have not seen this film before. Literally recently I've been on a bender of watching Siskel and Ebert's reviews, and they did a review of this, and they showed a clip of Danny DeVito's character, and it takes place at the start of this film. He's talking to his mistress because Bette Midler plays his wife, and she's terrific in this. But the main reason I wanted to watch this movie was because of Danny DeVito, and mainly because of this clip that Siskel and Ebert showed on their review for it. I was just laughing so hard at this clip of Danny DeVito talking about wanting to kill his wife. I was laughing so damn hard that I told myself, okay, I have to see this movie. And I did, and by God, it's literally one of the best comedies I've ever seen. And it's from Comedy Masters. It's from Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, Jerry Zucker. These guys are the ones behind Airplane. I believe they're also behind Top Gun, or not Top Gun, Top Secret, Naked Gun. I believe I know for sure they're behind Airplane and Top Secret. They're probably behind the Naked Gun series as well. If they didn't direct it, they probably produced it for sure. But for my money, I gotta say this is probably their best film. I love the cast here. It's also got Judge Reinhold, Bill Pullman's in this as well, Helen Slater, Anita Morris. Just a terrific cast here. Danny DeVito is obviously the standout here. He is perfect. He is comedy gold here. If you guys love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia just as much as I do, and you haven't seen this film, please give this movie a watch. You will not regret it. Danny DeVito as Sam Stone here. He's basically playing his character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, I throughout the course of this film, I kept seeing shades of his character from that film, and I loved it all the more for it. I thought he was brilliant. I thought this whole damn movie was brilliant. Everyone in it. I thought it was clever. There's so many misunderstandings in this movie, and there's this one involving this police sergeant or captain or whatever that just had me laughing hysterically, because there's so many levels to the misunderstandings in this movie that it's just this is a magnificent film. I definitely don't want to talk too much about it because I'm afraid I might spoil some of the best jokes in it. I'm just extraordinarily happy that this film has such high ratings from both audiences and critics on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, surprisingly, I agree with obviously the critics score, the 94% more than the audience, which has a 72. I'd be curious to read some of the reviews that hate a movie like this, because I genuinely don't see... I quite honestly don't understand how people could not like a movie like this. I like it. It kind of baffles me that anybody could hate a movie like Ruthless People. This was just such good-hearted fun from start to finish. I had so much fun with this movie. I was laughing basically every other minute, if not every damn minute. I thought this movie was a masterpiece, and it quite frankly kind of upsets me, the fact that some people would give this a negative review, and I have no idea what the hell they'd have to be smoking in order to hate a movie like this. Anyhow, Ruthless People, 1986, classic movie. I loved this movie. Moving on now, we got The Host from 2007. And wow, this has basically the same score for critics and audiences, except it's a 93% for critics and 72% for audiences. So basically the same as Ruthless People. Except for the fact that I didn't love this as much as Ruthless People. In fact, I just thought this movie was good. It's a good movie. I won't say... I kind of want to say it's a great movie, but at the same time, I thought this movie was quite a bit long in the tooth. Tonally, it was a mess, at least in my opinion. Like I couldn't really boil down what this director was trying to do. Like it's from Bong Joon-ho, the amazing Korean director behind Parasite, and Snowpiercer he directed as well. And I love this guy. He also did Okja, which in my opinion was a good movie as well. I'd relate this to something like Okja, where that movie, you know, I respect the acting, I respect the filmmaking behind it, I respect what he was going for, but at the end of the day, that movie just depressed the hell out of me. I quite honestly, I kind of hated Okja. Like the only thing that kind of makes me hold back from wanting to say it is because it's so well done, it's so well acted, well directed, well written, but it's just not my kind of movie. Like it gets to a point in that film where it's so disturbing. They do something to the animal in that film that is so disturbing that it kind of made me just despise that movie just based off of that. And I know that's not really a fair thing to say, but it's just my opinion. It left me feeling sour, dirty, in need of a shower after watching that particular scene involving Jake Gyllenhaal's character in that film, and it upset me, and I understood what they were going for with Oakjaw, but it was so brutal in its message. It was so like obvious with it as well, and it was ineffective in my opinion. I kind of hate it when movies try to do this like a political thing of, you know, oh, like this is like animal abuse and like it's bad. It's like, yeah, I think everybody understands that, and you know, I don't need to see a damn movie where you're abusing your animal, your title character basically in Oakjaw. So I sort of had a similar reaction to The Host here. And it's an interesting film to watch, especially now, because it's this pandemic sort of setting. Like, a lot of people keep bringing up, what's that movie, Contagion, with Matt Damon and Jude Law and all those actors. I kind of like Contagion better than this movie, but this is a monster movie. I didn't really like the visuals behind the monster. They have a couple of shots in here that I could tell, or at least I thought they were practical effects. Like a lot of the close-ups of the creature, it's like, okay, that's got to be practical, right? But I won't lie. By the end of this film, I kind of hated what they did. Like I don't know. It didn't feel earned. The shift in tone and what they do to one of the characters kind of just pissed me off, because like this character's alive after the initial monster attack, only to, you know, end up whatever by the end of the film. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like all this effort into, and it was such a frustrating movie for me. It felt a half hour longer than it was. This is a 2 hour long film. It felt like it was 2.5, if not 3 hours at times, because I kept having to pause it, go outside, do anything to take my mind off of it, I guess. Like I in a sense, I sort of had to force myself to finish watching it. I was entertained by it, don't get me wrong, but I think this is an incredibly overrated movie. Incredibly overrated. I think it's a good movie, but it makes me more weary about movies that get such high scores on Rotten Tomatoes and other sites like this. Like it makes me weary when I watch a movie like this and go, this ain't that great. This is a good movie, but it's not that great, at least in my opinion. I know a lot of people probably disagree with me on that. I just didn't like the tone of this movie. It tried to be funny at certain points where I wasn't laughing. I was kind of amused by certain things, kind of had a chuckle here and there. But just the tone of this movie was nonsensical, and I don't know. And the main thing about a monster movie is that you want to make your monster look good. You want to make sure that creature looks great. And the creature in this, I hated the design of it. It reminded me of, I don't know, it reminded me of A Quiet Place and those creatures. I like the look of those creatures actually more than in this film, because they have this sort of like quickness about them, like especially at the start of Quiet Place, where they just like clip the kid and like kill the kid basically at the start of the movie. Spoiler for A Quiet Place, the beginning of that movie, but I'm pretty sure that was revealed in all the trailers for it. So yeah, what more can I say about The Host? I mean, I feel like there's a plethora of other things I got to say about this, but I don't know. I really like the acting here, especially Sung Kang Ho. He's terrific as he always is in movies in general. I've just always loved this guy. He's one of the better actors working out there today, in my opinion. yeah. Yeah, I really wanted to love this movie. I really did. But there was just something about the mishmash of tones that just had me sort of just feeling off put, like around the halfway point. And yeah, that's that. Moving on again now, we're talking about a movie that genuinely surprised me. Genuinely surprised me. This is called 3 O'Clock High. And I had always heard this movie referenced by whether it be friends of mine or what. But I always heard this film sort of be alluded to by people. And what made me end up wanting to watch it is the I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at Roger Ebert's review here. Let's read his thing first before I go on my little tangent here. So, even a dumb teen movie such as this has to end with one of those fist fights where every blow sounds like the special effects guys are whacking bicycle seats with ping pong paddles. Is that all life is? The vicious define the terms. I always thought Roger Ebert was a bit harsh on movies like these because the thing I heard this movie related to, which it has nothing to do with, was Friday the 13th. Somebody said it's like a cross between like Ferris Bueller or something mixed in with Friday the 13th, and I hear that and I'm just like, what? That's awesome. I love both of those things. And no, this has nothing to do with Friday the 13th. I don't know where the hell somebody, like, it must have been some user review that I read. Maybe they're talking about the fact that it's obviously adults playing teenagers or something like that. I honestly have no idea what the hell they were talking about with this having anything to do with Friday the 13th. Quite honestly, that was my biggest disappointment with this movie. Because the whole time throughout the course of this movie, I kept expecting the main bully character in this film to turn into like Jason Voorhees and just start killing off all the kids. So I was kind of anticipating for that sort of thing to happen, which it obviously did not happen, to my surprise and a little bit of a disappointment, but not towards this movie itself, because this movie delivered. And I thought this movie was very funny, very well acted. I like the fact that it takes place over the course of a single day. I really like movies like this. And it's one of those movies that I didn't have to pause this movie. I didn't have to go outside. I didn't have to write a grocery list and do my laundry while I was watching it. I just sat here for the hour and a half or however long it is. It must just be, yeah, an hour 37 minutes. Sat here for the entire duration and just had a blast with it. I really, 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 really enjoyed this movie. I didn't love it. There's some things about it that are kind of like I kind of wish this film, because it's about this guy Jerry, and he's supposed to write this essay on this Buddy Revell guy who's this new kid in school, and it's rumored that like he killed a kid or whatever in his last school, and blah blah blah. Like a part of me kind of imagined this film like written slightly better, you know what I mean? Like I kind of hoped that these two would, like, I don't know, become friends sooner in the movie, because you kind of get the sense throughout this film that they probably will sort of become friends by the end of this film, which kind of happens, I guess. I don't know, there's just this cute scene at the end between the two, but yeah, my hope was that I kind of wish they expanded on that more, because every time it's these two characters on screen with one another, I'm fascinated, because I love both of these actors. Jerry's played by Casey Shamasco. I honestly don't know how to say his name. And Buddy Revel's played by Richard Tyson, who was always one of those familiar faces. But like I looked at his Rotten Tomatoes casting list or whatever earlier, and I didn't notice many films that I remember seeing. I remembered obviously he's in There's Something About Mary. I think he plays a detective in that, and he has a very small role. But he's one of those actors that as soon as you see him, you go like, I've seen that guy before. Maybe he's more popular in the TV show circuit. I don't know, but there's something that I remembered this guy from. He has that face where it's like he's the perfect guy to play a serial killer. That's why I kept thinking in this film, all right, I'm waiting for the moment where he takes a knife and just starts shanking kids in the hallway, just back to back, shank, 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 done deal. But of course, spoiler, no, that doesn't happen. So yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It's a comedy first and foremost. I thought this was going to be like a horror comedy, which it's not. It's just a straight up comedy. And yeah, it's one of those movies that even though I like this movie quite a bit, I almost want to say I love it, but I can't quite say that I love this movie entirely. It's one of those. It's one of these movies that I feel like if they remade it, they could iron out some of the ideas a bit more. Like and just give us more scenes where these characters are because at one point they're in detention together, and I'm like, okay, it's finally great to see these two in the same room as one another, and they're sort of like working together to get out of this out of this situation. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I like this. Like I can't wait to see where this goes from here. I can't wait to see how their relationship develops. And it doesn't really. Like their relationship just sort of is essentially it boils down to I'm the bully and I'm the kid that has to stand up to you. And it's something as generic as that makes me understand why Roger Ebert would give this like a 1 out of 4 like he did. Because it's like, okay, you could have took this concept further. And if they were to remake this film, which I wouldn't have any gripe towards at all, because I think, like I keep mentioning, there's a lot you can do with this subject matter, with these characters. But the nuts and bolts and the skeleton is basically there, you know, and there's enough meat and potatoes here to sort of, you know, go like, okay, this is a damn good movie. I really enjoyed it. It's just I really wish it had that extra bit of heart and soul with these characters. It seemed like they sort of took a back seat to the fight that takes place at the end of the movie, and the fight is pretty cheesy. Yeah, if there's something negative, I'd have to say I do agree with Roger Ebert that the fight is kind of like you can tell they're pulling punches, and it's just like this is kind of lame because you know how it turns out. And it also brings to mind what I was talking about with a potential reboot, because if this was to actually happen in reality, this kid would be pulverized by this bully character, like absolutely pulverized. And this Buddy Revell character, like literally one punches this big jock guy who is taller than him, heavier than him, more muscular than him. He just one punches him earlier in the film. And you know, and maybe that's a unspoken sort of twist with his character, is the fact that he was sort of like holding back in this fight with Jerry because, you know, he secretly wanted him to win. But it's not played in that way, and you get no sense that that's what he's hoping for. Like, because at one point he pulls out these brass knuckles, and it's just like you can kill a guy with fucking brass knuckles. Are you a psycho? So it's like, okay, right there you just revealed that you are the psycho that all these kids were talking about with these rumors at the start of the film. And it's just I don't know. It's just like I wanted there to be something more clever than just they're having a fight at the end of the film. It's just what you expect. It's the nerd overcoming the bully. It's the David Goliath scenario, and it's just fine, but it could have been so much better. It could have been so much better, and if it was, then this would be a classic, just like I mentioned, just like with Ferris Bueller. Somebody else, another critic on here, must mention 16 Candles or something like that. This would be up there with those John Hughes movies had they had more time to give these characters some actual depth rather than just, you're the bully and you're the nerd and you're the nerd's girlfriend and you're the hot teacher and you're the detective and you're this, blah, blah, blah. A lot of it's very one note, one dimensional. But for what it is, this is a comedy, and I think it's incredibly effective at that. I was laughing quite a bit at this film, especially at the start of this film, where like I was still expecting this to turn into a Friday the 13th type of horror movie. I really like this main actor and this main protagonist. Immediately he's a likable guy. Like he wakes up, all of his clothes are dirty, he's sniffing around, all of his clothes are scattered along the floor, sort of like how my room bloody well looks now. And he's sniffing at his clothes, and he realizes that his mother and father left for the weekend or something like that, or for the week. So he's watching his kid daughter, or his kid sister. I guess she's in high school though, as well, for some reason. I mean, she looks like she's 12 and she's in high school, I guess. So basically, at the start of the film, he finds his clothes in the washer machine, and they're all like obviously wet. So his solution is just to take out a dress shirt, throw it in the microwave, and just leave it in there to dry. And then he realizes he's hungry because I think his stomach is rumbling or something. So he opens a Pop-Tart and just throws it on top of the wet shirt in the microwave. And I don't know why, but that got like the biggest laugh out of me. I thought that was such a relatable way of starting off this film, just showing that this is a normal guy. He's like a lot of us growing up as a kid. You feel like you're always sleeping past the alarm clock. You're waking up, your bloody room's a mess. You got no clean clothes. You gotta go to school with like half your clothes being from the previous day or two. And it's just like, oh God, this is going to be a terrible day right off the get-go. And then it just gets worse and worse for him as it goes along. And it's quite humorous, the levels of absurdity that this guy has to go through and trying to avoid getting killed, basically. Like, he keeps thinking he's going to get killed by this Buddy Revell guy, but obviously I think we all know how how a movie like this plays out. So anyhow, moving on now to the last film. And of all the films that I've seen on here, this is by far the biggest disappointment. This is a Scott Adkins film. It's called Accident Man. I really wanted to love this film, guys. What can I say? But I really, 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 really thought it was okay. I didn't hate this film. Not in the slightest. But it's definitely the worst Scott Adkins film that I've seen yet of his filmography. Mind you, I haven't seen too many of his films, but I've seen enough to sort of like get a grasp on the quality of pictures that he's usually a part of. For instance, his best film, I don't know why, sometimes my memory is just like, whoop, turn it off. So his best film, in my opinion, is, I think, his most recent one, if not one of his more recent ones, and that's called Avengement. That film, brilliant, masterpiece. Another favorite of mine with Scott Adkins is called Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning. That's my favorite Universal Soldier movie. He's perfect in that movie. I thought after seeing that he would make the perfect Batman if he was ever cast in a superhero movie. I think he was in Doctor Strange as some like henchman that gets killed off probably like immediately or whatever. But and another film I really liked of his was what was that other one? Ninja Shadow of a Tear. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I think I've seen like at least one or two others that I just can't remember the names of them right at the moment. But of the movies that I've seen of his, generally I've really liked them. This one though was very disappointing, very disappointing. Thankfully, the action sequences are quite a bit fun. Like there's this scene in this apartment with this axe wielding maniac that's quite a bit of fun. Kind of reminded me of a fight he has in Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning. The best fight in this though is with this woman, and she's got this katana, and I believe she's done stunt videos for Corridor Crew. It's this great channel here on YouTube. They break down stunts throughout movies and TV shows and whatnot, and I believe they have this woman on quite frequently because I recognized her right away. I'm like, where's this girl from? What's her name? I don't know. I think her name's Amy Johnston. Like at first I thought it was Ashley Greene, but no, that's a different character in this. And yeah, Ashley Greene. Okay, so she plays. So basically, this has one of those stupid ass plots where it's got the dead girlfriend angle, and you know, the dead girlfriend of the Scott Adkins character Mike. She turned out to be a lesbian. So, you know, he goes to her funeral, brings her flowers for her grave, and like you got this lesbian like bitch like coming up to Scott Adkins and just reprimanding him like, you're an asshole, like you should be better, blah blah blah. And it's like, give me a break. I don't need to hear this. This character doesn't need to hear this. And quite frankly, she's the most useless, ridiculous character in this. Why the hell she's even in this film, I have no idea. I hate this actress, though. I haven't seen her, I don't think, in anything else. But she sucks in this. Like, she's jettisoned straight out of a damn porn flick. She is abysmal in this bloody film. I was furious every time she was on screen. I'm like, I don't need to deal with this. I'd rather have more scenes with Scott Adkins and Ray Stevenson. And, you know, Ray Stevenson hardly has anything to do in this film. Like, basically, throughout the course of the whole damn movie, he's standing behind a fucking bar doing nothing except spewing dialogue and having a Fox accent. And it's just like, okay, I like him, you know, and you know, I really wished that the flashback, because there's a flashback with him and a younger version of the Scott Adkins character. And it's just like, I really wish this was Scott Adkins here, and you just tried to do the cheesy thing of making Scott Adkins look like a teenager, because I would have preferred that rather than, you know, this kid. And whoever the kid is, like, he sucks. I'm sorry, but the kid actor playing a young version of Scott Adkins, I mean, no. I'm not buying it. I would have rather have just seen, I wish they rewrote it to make it just so that Scott Adkins and Ray Stevenson could have more scenes together, because that's a big problem with this film, is that you think, oh, Ray Stevenson's Big Ray character is going to be the main antagonist of this film, but he really isn't. I mean, the problem with this film is that they don't have a clearly defined antagonist. It's just like a bunch of people that Scott Adkins has to kill. It's just like, okay, whatever. I mean, like David Paymer, I guess, is the closest you get to a main antagonist, like, other than the other assassins that he's got to fight. But, you know, they're just doing their job. Like, you know, Michael Jai White and Rafe Park's characters, they say it like it's just a job, man. It's nothing personal, and it's like, yeah, that's true. Like, you know, give the guys a break. They're just doing their job, just like you. I mean, what the fuck do you want? So yeah, this is one of those movies that I really wish the script here was better, because it had all the right elements for me. I do like the cast for the most part. Michael Jai White, Ray Park, Ray Stevenson, David Paymer, Scott Adkins. I really like those five actors. But by God, the characters are just so generic, and like, and they try to give Scott Adkins too many one-liners, and he just comes across as like an asshole for the most part. Like, if this was the first movie I watched with Scott Adkins, I'd probably never watch another Scott Adkins movie again, in all honesty. At a certain point, I just, maybe it's because this film is an hour and 52 minutes. In my opinion, that's 20 or so minutes too long for an action movie like this. This movie should just be 90 minutes max. Like, this has no right to be a damn near 2 hour movie, in my opinion. It's just too fucking slow, and there's not enough action in it, quite honestly. Like, you think there's going to be an action scene between Ray Stevenson and Scott Adkins at the end? There isn't. No, there isn't. They kind of built up to it as well, like, because he's the mentor and he's the student, and you think, okay, that's the perfect setup for them to have a badass fight. And Ray Stevenson can do some fight scenes. I mean, we saw him in Punisher Warzone. That was just like 10 years before this. He's still in decent shape. He can still do some action scenes. If not, get a stunt double, and that would be no problem. Why the hell there wasn't a fight between the two at the end, I don't know, but it could have been fun, and it was a missed opportunity. And there's just so many missed opportunities in this film. I'll never watch this film again. Quite frankly, I'll probably forget about this film in another week or so. I watched this a couple days ago, and already it's starting to slip from my damn mind. But if you're looking for a action film just to turn off your brain and plow popcorn into your face, I don't know, maybe give this a watch if you got nothing better to do, I guess. I don't know. Personally, I'd say go watch Avengement instead. That is a much better movie with a far better script, better acting, better characters, more interesting everything. Like, that movie's just way more compelling than this was. And I guess this is based off of some sort of like comic series. I don't know, and I don't care, and whatever the hell it is, I'm not interested in it, quite frankly. Because this film wasn't interesting at the end of the day. It just felt like a mishmash of a bunch of other generic ultra-violent genre films. And I do kind of agree with this critic. Like, a part of me after watching it kind of disagreed, but the more I think about it, the more I do. It's by this Danny Brogan guy, Common Sense Media. He's got a 1 out of 5 abysmal score for this, 1 out of 5. And it says, ultra-violent action thriller has nasty misogynistic side. And I kind of agree with that, because like there is like this mean spirit about like some of the scenes in this. Like, albeit it might be unintended, I don't know, but I don't know. It just feels very mean-spirited at certain points, and I really, really wish this film was way better than it was. Actually, while I'm here on Rotten Tomatoes now, I'm changing around my score, because originally I gave this a 3 out of 5. I think I'm more in line with either a 2 or 2.5. Yeah, screw it. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. I really didn't like this film much at all. The more I think about it, the more it upsets me. The fact that, you know, it wasted such like talented actors as these. But anyhow, you know, still the standouts obviously are the fight scenes, and you know, it's got a couple funny scenes here and there. It's got this machismo, macho attitude that I don't know. I kind of like that from an action movie every now and again. So if you're looking for something generic like that, something macho and cheesy, loaded with a bunch of ultra-violent action, you might like this film. Anyhow, you guys, I don't know. That's it. I don't know how to end this video anymore. Ugh. Actually, I know how to end this video. By burping. That's how. Hey, Audrey. Come over here to see my girl. That's how we're ending this. Can you even see her? Oh, there she is. Hey, girl. How you doing, baby? Love you, girl. Look how pretty she is, eh? She always blows me away with how beautiful she is. Got a little ear twitch. Alright, guys. I'm trying to angle this to get us both in here. There we are. Audrey, you're so hard to film. I love you, baby. Mwah. And I love you guys too. Maybe not as much as this cat here, but I love you and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day or night or whatever time you're watching this. And we'll see you next time.